Hello Stampers, today I'm going to demonstrate how to make this card folder. This is the one I made and I used our Eastern Fluence stamp set. First thing you want to do is cut a piece of cardstock at 9 1/4 by 12, like this piece here. And I chose our crumb cake. And then you're going to score it at 5 1/2. So just line it up, score it at 5 1/2, and then you're going to score it at 6 1/2. So 5 1/2, then 6 1/2. And what you want to do then next is take the cardstock, turn it vertical, and you want to score it at 6 1/4. I can get it lined up here. So score it at 6 1/4. What you'll have then is these scored lines. Take your bone folder and go over them. And you just fold up this bottom piece up, and then you're going to fold this piece over. Again, use your bone folder to get it pressed down good. And do the same thing to the other side. So you have that when you're all done. Then you want to stamp on this, and I used our Eastern Influence and our crumb cake ink, and I just went around and I stamped the edges because you'll be covering up the center so nobody will see this. Now once you've done that, you're going to just leave it open like this. Then you want to cut a piece of cardstock by 5 inches by 6 inches. I chose our Wild Wasabi. And I took the Big Shot and the texture plate, Perfect Details, and ran it through. I then sponged the edges with Wild Wasabi. We're going to move this piece out of the way for a second and just focus on the part of decorating. Next, you want to cut a piece of cardstock at 5 inches by 3 1/4. This is called Marina Mist color. I stamped a little flower in Marina Mist ink from Eastern Influence. I then punched out the bottom with the scallop edge punch, and then went through with the paper piercing tool and punched holes into each scallop, and then sponged the edges with the Marina Mist ink. Then you're just going to snail this right onto the Wild Wasabi. Again, this piece is 5 by 3 1/4. And you're just going to snail that in right down there. Next, I took a piece of Bravo Burgundy cardstock. I cut this to 1 inches by 7 inches for the crimper. And then I ran it through the crimper. I cut a little bit longer because it's easier that way to just trim than not have enough. I took that and laid that in there about right there. And then you're going to take your scissors and just trim off the excess here, like that. So then you'll have that. Next, I cut a piece of pink Perriette cardstock at 4 1/4 by 4 1/2. Again, I took the flower from Eastern Influence stamp set, stamped it in pink Perriette ink, and then sponged the edges. And I snailed this piece right over the top of that. Then I took the Just For You from Teeny Tiny Wishes, stamped it in Bravo Burgundy onto vanilla cardstock. On the background, I stamped the flowers in pink Perriette and sponged the edges with crumb cake ink. And you're just going to put snail on that, and then you're just going to slide this up in there to where you think it looks good. And then the last piece of cardstock that you will want to cut, you'll want to cut this at 4 inches by 4 1/4. This is a piece of very vanilla cardstock. I took the stamps from Eastern Influence. I stamped the flower in wild wasabi. I then took the little flower and stamped it in pink Periette and the other little flower in crumb cake. Once I did that, I then took our sanded background stamp, inked it in crumb cake, and stamped over the whole image. Then I went back and filled in with little flowers from the Eastern Influence set that I stamped in Bravo Burgundy and pink Periette, and then I sponged the edges with crumb cake and added little vintage brads to the center and popped them up on dimensionals. I took some white taffeta ribbon, colored it with the sponge dauber and Marina Mist ink. I added some 1/8 very vanilla taffeta and some natural hemp twine around, or some linen thread around that also. And then to finish it off, I added 2 vintage brads in the corner. On the back, I just put stamping dimensionals in. Because I wanted this to stand up a little bit more. And I placed that right in the center of that pink Periette. And then I'm going to flip this over and add dimensionals to the back of this. And we're going to set this piece aside for a minute. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our folder that we made and take the paper piercing tool along with the mat. And you're going to punch 2 holes through the layers here. And you want to do this before you put the cover on so you can hide your ribbon a little bit. And just kind of rock it back and forth like that. And then we're going to take a piece of 1/8 inch taffeta ribbon and run that through that hole that you punched. And then you're just going to tie a little knot like that. And pull on it. And then cut it however long you think you'll need to have to tie a bow. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And you might have to feed it in there, and the paper piercing tool works really good for that. Of course, at this time, it's going to not work with me for that. There you go. Again, just tie a little knot. Pull on it. Match it up with the other side of your ribbon and cut. And then peel off the backing on the dimensionals on the wild wasabi. And place this right in the center. Like that. And then just tie your little bow how you want on the side here. And there you go. Now you've created a card folder that is ready to put cards inside. Thank you.